Okay, good evening. It is 6:01, and we are going to have a call to order for the Raymore Board of Adjustment meeting for Wednesday, February the 12th. Roll call, please.
Board Member Woods?
Here.
Board Member Bailey?
Here.
Board Member Hadger?
Here.
Board Member Martin? Absent. Board Member Burke?
Here.
And Board Member Velasco is absent. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. If everyone would please stand and join me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next, are there any personal appearances for this evening? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda, which is the approval of the minutes from the September 11th, 2024 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve them?
I motion that we approve the September 11th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion has passed to approve the minutes from the September 11th, 2024 meeting. Next on the agenda is unfinished business. Seeing none, we will move on to new business. The first item we have is the public hearing for 25001 Hibner Acres, Lot 1B, variance of use. It is now 6:02, and I will be opening the public hearing. Mr. Gress, would you like the applicant to present first, or are you going to present?
I think typically we do the applicant first for their presentation, and I'll follow up with the staff
Okay.
report.
Would one of you? Yes, would you please come to the microphone, state your name and your address?
Yeah, Mike Blythe, 12309 South Burr Oak Circle, Peculiar, Missouri. And my son here lives in the same area. We are proposing, thanks for having me tonight. We're proposing to build approximately 12,000 foot, two separate buildings of contractor garages on the land that you described. It is somewhat landlocked, so we anticipate this being the perfect fit for this. Hopefully it'll bring the city some tax-based revenue and service the citizens of Raymore. Service-type construction businesses will be there, like HVAC. Our business will be there. We have a gutter business, and it's we've been in Raymore for quite a few years, and we'll house that business there as well as some other service businesses. 6 separate tenant spaces.
Okay. How large will the tenant spaces be?
Approximately 1,200 square foot per.
Okay. With one overhead door and one man door?
Yes, ma'am. 2 overhead per space.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Are there any questions for the applicant in addition to what the chair has asked? Otherwise, I can get into the staff report.
Appears as though we have another board member joining us.
Perfect.
Thank you. Okay. At this time, we have no additional questions, but we reserve the right to call you back.
Appreciate y'all.
Thank you. Mr. Gress?
Very good. Thank you. As the applicant mentioned, they are here tonight to request the first step in their proposed development there off of 58 Highway, adjacent to the Casey's General Store and the Riley Auto Parts and Dollar General. So the applicant mentioned their proposed project is 2 different buildings comprised of various mixture of proposed uses, contractor garages, light office space, for construction, sales, and service type businesses. The request this evening, though, specifically is to request that the use of a construction sales service be a permitted use in the C2 district. Right now, it is not considered a permitted use, and so in order for the applicant to move forward, the Board of Adjustment would have to approve the variance as requested this evening. The subject property is currently zoned C2 General Commercial. It is generally surrounded on all 3 sides by similar zoning, C2 General Commercial. On the west side of the property is a residential single-family home that exists with access off of Rice Street. And then you have several other residential properties, single-family, surrounding that property. So kind of a separation between commercial and residential land uses there along Rice Street. Included in your packet are a couple photographs of the property there from a couple different angles on all sides of the property to give a little bit of a context. The request this evening does require a public hearing, which you have opened, and so because of that, we did send notice to 14 of the property owners surrounding the property. We mailed those on January 24th. As of today, we had received 2 contacts from residents that received those notices. Both of them were just inquiring about what the specific request was. Neither of them voiced any objections to the request, just were seeking some additional information about it. We also published the meeting this evening in the January 23rd edition of the North Cass Herald. Some of the background on the property here and kind of how it got to its current form today. In March of 2004, the Board of Adjustment actually approved a variance for this property, and what that ended up approving was in our code, we have a requirement for lot frontage for a property. It has to have access to a public street. As the applicant mentioned, this is tucked a little bit behind an existing commercial development, so the variance at the time was to reduce that requirement from the required 100-foot width along a public street to 0 feet in exchange for an access easement that was then platted. Essentially, this property uses a shared access easement between Casey's and O'Reilly. That is how you access the property. At the time that the Board of Adjustment and Planning and Zoning Commission approved that request is when access from Rice Street was prohibited as long as this property was to be developed as commercial use. So as the applicant mentioned, they are a little bit landlocked. Access is not allowed off of Rice Street. The only access to the property is through those 2 other commercial businesses that access 58 Highway. In April of 2004 is when the Planning and Zoning Commission approved the current plat, which is included in your packet as an exhibit. That's where you'll see the existing access easement. There's a couple other easements on the property. This property on the north side of it also serves as the regional detention basin for a couple other properties around it, which also has presented some challenges in trying to develop it in the past. So definitely a unique piece of property. We've worked with the applicant for a couple of months now trying to figure out the best way for them to move forward. As I mentioned, the first step in their process here is going to be obtaining the approval or recommendation of approval from the Board of Adjustment for their variance of use. You'll note in your packet that we have recommended a couple of conditions with our approval. I'll kind of walk through what each of those are. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Since the applicant is asking to allow a use that is currently not permitted in the C2 district for the uniqueness of this property, we did walk through the staff's suggestion to also limit other uses that would be allowed in the C2 district that may not be compatible with the surrounding uses. So on page 6 of your staff report or page 13 of the packet, the first condition would be a handful of uses that we are suggesting not be allowed in these kind of multi-tenant contractor garage type units. Adult businesses, kennels, daycare, restaurants, self-storage facilities, vehicle sales and service, auto repair, some of those businesses, just to name a couple of them. To again, just protect the property owners around this from any detrimental effects that some of those other businesses could bring inside the units that the applicant's trying to construct. The second condition would be, assuming the variance tonight is approved, we would like the applicant to submit an application for rezoning of the property from its C2 designation to a C2P, which is a planned district overlay. And the reason for that, it allows the city to establish the building design standards that we would like to work with the applicant on to maintain more of a commercial appearance of the building and not an industrial building like you would typically see for some of these contractor type garages. So assuming that that gets approved as well, those building design standards would be part of that application moving forward. Following the hopeful approval of that zoning application, the applicant would then be allowed to file a site plan with our Planning and Zoning Commission, which would then be the final step in their approval, which would get to the details of the final sizes of the buildings, where exactly they'd be located, how the stormwater will be handled, utilities and things of that nature. But again, all that is kind of predicated on them obtaining the variance of use this evening. The last request would be that the Board of Adjustment condition the variance of use approval with a 1-year time frame. It establishes a reasonable time frame for the applicant to continue their process and work through the zoning application and the site plan application with the other boards and commissions after tonight's meeting. In your packet, we did submit our proposed findings of fact. We also provided a list of the uses that are permitted, not permitted, and conditional uses in the C2 district, as well as the site photographs for your consideration. So that would conclude my staff report. Staff does recommend that the board approve this request, subject to the conditions that we have outlined. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
First question, so the current zoning is C2, right?
Correct.
And that doesn't include construction, sales, and service. I guess, enlighten me why it doesn't include construction, sales, and service.
So our use table, kind of think of it as a hierarchy from our most restrictive zoning districts like C1, which is your neighborhood commercial. That is going to be more small scale retail neighborhood commercial type developments. That goes all the way up to C3, which is our regional commercial. That's where you'll find like where Lowe's and Sam's Club and that area of town. That is all our regional commercial districts. In between there is C2, which is general. So that district catches some of the C1 uses and some of the C3 uses. But in all those commercial districts, the construction sales service use is not permitted. And the reason that we chose going through the variance process as opposed to rezoning it to a business park or industrial zoning district is then you would have essentially what we call a spot zone. You'd have an industrially zoned piece of property in the middle of commercial zones and residential zones. So the best path forward for the applicant to try and obtain their approval was to just request the variance of use for that one specific use that they were trying to move forward with.
Plus, there's tighter controls on a C2P than an industrial zoning for ongoing, I want to be careful about my wording, ongoing potential maintenance and upkeep of the facility.
It definitely establishes what the requirements and expectations are for, as a multi-tenant building, as the applicant mentioned, you'll have multiple tenants in this building over its lifetime, so it does provide a little bit greater control over restricting some of those uses that we've pointed out, kind of in exchange for the flexibility of this one additional use.
And I have a question. I don't know if this is for you or for the applicant, but the storm detention drain, is that going to be an issue, or do they work around that, or how does that work?
So what is on the property now is a storm easement, meaning no buildings can encroach into that. They have to maintain the water that currently flows into that. They have hired an engineer. We're not quite to that point of getting to the details yet, but we have spoken with them about what properties currently discharge their stormwater into this detention basin, how much water this property is likely to generate in terms of stormwater. They will have to maintain the current levels in addition to what they're proposing to be developed. So to answer your question, it shouldn't be a problem.
And the access agreements are already in place with O'Reilly's and Casey's and recorded?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And no issue with ingress, egress with the fire department with just one then?
No, there was no issue. We looked at the location. They'll likely have to extend a fire hydrant closer to the building when they extend the water service back into there. We'll kind of address that as part of the site plan when we get there, but when we met with the applicant as part of our pre-application meeting, fire was there and gave some of their feedback to their engineer and what they were expecting on the project.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Any public comments? Seeing none and no additional questions here, I'm going to be closing the public hearing at 6:14. Do I have a motion to approve the recommendation of this request on the agenda this evening, which is the approval of the 25001 Hibner Acres Lot 1B variance of use from C2 to C2P?
I'll do a motion to approve the whole.
Thank you. And do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion passes and is approved. Next on the agenda, we have a January Development Services report. Mr. Gruss?
Thank you very much. Included in your packet, was the department activity for the month of January as we kicked off the new year. We did issue 11 building permits already this calendar year, which was a good start to our calendar year from a construction standpoint. I don't think we have met as a board since we found out that the multi-tenant building that's currently under construction right next to Scooters and the car wash there off of 58, there is a dentist office that is being constructed as one anchor tenant. On the other end, we did get tenant finish plans for an Einstein Brothers Bagels.
That's
So they'll
good,
be.
because we needed another dental office here. Sorry.
So they'll, they have not yet started the work inside the tenant space. They're still finishing some work on the building shell, but Einstein Brothers should be starting that work here pretty soon. Things are starting to really kind of take shape on that building now, finally, after several months of their construction. And then the last thing, if any of you are familiar with our Raymar Commerce Center, down off the interchange, the warehouses down there, two of those businesses, we had three big ribbon cuttings in January of last year. Two of those businesses, both Newly and Southern Glazers, two of the larger businesses in that park, they have continued to expand their operations and their equipment. So our building official and building inspectors were really busy last month, doing a lot of inspections on their new sorting equipment, different technologies that they're putting into those buildings to keep their operations running smooth. So really good to see activity continuing down there. Outside of that, we do not have any scheduled Board of Adjustment meetings at this time moving forward. As Mr. McCumber and I continue to review things, we'll be in touch with the board should we have any applications come our way.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Are there any public comments? Seeing none, do any board members have any comments this evening? Seeing none,
If I could just cover one quick thing, as I mentioned to a couple of you, we had a little bit of a technological mishap with getting the packets out to you all this week. And I think what the issue was, when we moved to our online packet software, Civic Plus, we actually moved away from our boards and commissions using their personal emails. And so now you all have been set up with a raymore.com email address, which is how you'll access the packets moving forward. We will typically email you a link to them, which will be a little bit easier, but I will, what I think didn't happen is that I don't know if you all got the instructions for setting those emails up. And so I'm going to work with our IT department to get those sent back out to your personal emails. Those will give you the instructions for how to log on to your raymore.com emails. I know every week that we have a meeting, either myself or our planner will send you the link to the portal where you can find it, just so it's a little bit easier. But hopefully that kind of explains the delay in getting you guys the packets. They were published last week on Thursday, but none of you guys got that notification because they went to your raymore.com emails, which you didn't have access to.
I'll
So
speak for myself. I know I have plenty of email accounts to be checking, so I greatly appreciate the email to us with the link.
what I want to try and set up, because you're not the only board or commission to not want another email, I do want to work with our IT department to see, by policy, I have to send those emails to your Raymore email, but I'm trying to figure out if there's a way that it can be auto-forwarded to your personal emails, just to see if that makes it a little bit easier. So stay tuned for that. I will be following up with you all once I get some clarity on that, but appreciate the comment.
Yeah, technology-wise, I know you can. Now, let's see if the city allows it, but I know technology will afford you the right to do that.
Will you continue to send us the reminders and all that to our regular email, or will we have to check our raymore.com email too?
What I'll do moving forward, with this meeting, I sent a Google Calendar invite to all of you. I will still continue to send that to your personal email, just inviting you to the meetings, and I'll only do that when we have a meeting scheduled, just to keep it on your calendar. I know that helps me not forget about meetings if they're on my calendar. So I will continue to do that, and like I said, I'll work with IT to see if I can get those other things forwarded automatically to your personal emails.
And if all the board members would text me your cell phone number directly, I will set up our own little group text as BOA text, and I'll do the same just because I know I'm not going to be checking the raymore.com email on a regular basis.
I'm already checking for you.
I know, I got way too many, and I don't want to not show up at 6 o'clock when I'm supposed to be here, or I think it will come in very handy for us texting with snow and things like that, because I know I was drastically, trying to check to make sure tonight wasn't canceled and things like that. So not trying to put all the burden on you, trying to help you out.
Totally understand it. Thank you.
Okay. All right, motion for adjournment, please.
I motion. Second.
Okay, we have a motion for adjournment, and we have a second. Thank you all. The meeting is adjourned at 6:19. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Can you get a formal vote on that?
Okay, can I get a vote on that? Everyone in favor, aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes. Thank you.
We'll be in touch with Tom here and get you guys started on the way for your next step.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah, he sent this
Dockers,
stuff,
I
I was like, oh crap, we got comfortable.
I'll send you the link. Have a good night.